What's up everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be watching and reacting to episode 2 of The Pitt on HBO Max. I loved episode 1 and because y'all got us to 300 likes, actually really quickly, thank you so much for that. I'm following up on my promise and doing episode 2. What I'm looking forward to seeing today is, do they stick the landing in episode 2? Because a lot of energy goes into episode 1 because it's supposed to hook you, it's the pilot, and they're supposed to like use that as a concept to prove to the studio that hey, this is worth investing in. And I also heard there's like some drama because this is maybe a branch off of ER. I'm sure y'all know more than I. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. And also, if we hit, I guess, 500 likes on this video, I'm going to be reacting to episode 3 because I just love the series. And yes, I do want to get through all of it. And thank you all so much for your comments because we're going to address a lot of it right now. And if you like reaction videos, welcome. This is the place for you. I'm Dr. Peter. I'm a pediatrician and actor, and I love reviewing movies and TV from a health and acting perspective and letting you know all the secret health lessons as well as acting lessons that we can find. So let's jump straight into it. Previously on The Pitt.
Students and new interns starting today. Lucky me.
Melissa King. I just came from 2
Oh,
months.
love her.
Victoria Giavatti, MS3.
I saw a lot of comments about her age. We'll talk about it.
Dana, she's our charge nurse.
Love her.
Pitt,
Love him.
It's not always about you.
Don't have a miscarriage.
Milton, tell me about this belly pain.
Heart attacks can present as upper abdominal pain.
Is he gonna have a heart attack?
18-year-old kid.
Coarse language as opposed to fine language. It's hypothyroidotic language. The Pitt. Some of you were saying you actually worked at this hospital. Oh my gosh. That room that they had in the front there that said stop no entry is an isolation room, but what was wild about COVID is it was essentially like wartime medicine where you couldn't really isolate people with COVID, so everyone was just, and that's why everyone's wearing the protective equipment even outside in the regular hallways.
What's wrong with the kids these days?
And clearly this is his PTSD.
Besides social media and the worldwide pandemic and the environmental crisis.
Yeah.
He seems like the most perfect main character because he's jaded, but also is extremely progressive and woke. So I wonder what his pitfall, I did not mean that, what his personality flaws are going to be, because in the first episode, he's the rock of the pit, and that's great, but not everyone is perfect, so I'm going to look to see if we can explore some of that. And he doesn't have to have one, but I think it would, the show is so well written that I would assume they're going to give him something where he like lashes out against someone.
Signs of trauma?
Nothing.
Okay, open your eyes, Nick. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
So what are they going to do? A primary survey, which based on the last episode is A, B, C, D, E, which means the first one is airway, and he's already intubated, so B is breathing, they were listening to bilateral breath sounds, and then C is pulses.
Heart rate 64, BP is cycling. No response to pain. GCS 3.
GCS 3 is the lowest score you could get. That means he is not moving his eyes, he's not moving his limbs, and he's not responding verbally.
How's your pain, Mr. Milton?
I'm fine. Could use a latte, though.
Well, that could bring back the gallstone pain.
How about a bourbon?
It's barely 8 o'clock. How about some ice chips?
Huh? No, thanks. I prefer my whiskey neat.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Oh my goodness. I feel like they're setting us up for failure. Don't you feel that? The smirk and the casual convo, and this guy's gonna go down.
Flaccid paralysis of all 4 extremities. No eye movement with ice water.
Are they doing, what is that? Calorics? Wait, I have to look this up. Caloric reflex test. No way. I've never seen this done. I only learned about it for the exam, how the brain's reflexes are working. When you put in cold water in someone's ear, their eyes should drift toward where the cold water is going. And if you put warm water in their ear, their eyes should drift away from the warm water. Now, I have never seen anyone do this, and I don't even know how they found these things out. Like, ancient medicine is I respect ancient medicine so much, or maybe not ancient, because the things that they used to do is just really fascinating. The cranial reflexes as well, they kind of have all their roots in the brainstem. Wow, and look at the detail on that ID. We just gotta applaud the costuming department because they actually have this entire ID that says Pittsburgh Emergency Medicine Nurse Martinez. Do you see that? Actually, in some hospitals that I've worked at, nurses now, for safety, not for the doctors, but for the nurses, they only put their first name and their last initial, just so if you have a concern or something, you can report them. But for their safety, you can't track them online. But physicians, first and last name.
Nurse suggested it to rule out any cardiac issues.
Well, good call on both your parts. Nurses know what they're doing. Never hesitate to listen to them. Come find me when those labs are back.
He's right. It's just, it feels so preachy coming from him. I don't know why. It's like, I think I'm waiting for him to have a flaw, and he's just so, he's Mr. Perfect. It's like, yeah, dude, where are your biases? What is your problem?
Okay, I'll be right there.
He just launched it into the open?
It's the Nowhere Man from Yellow Submarine. That's what he used to call me when I didn't do my homework.
Is this his baseline?
He has good days and bad days.
This is just for anyone who's medical in the crowd. I love how some of us use language that's in the hospital, outside the hospital. I made a video about this once that I posted on my socials, and it was so fun to hear all the words that we use because baseline has found its way into my vocabulary and I can't get rid of it. So I'll be like, oh, you know, my friends, you know, they're kind of upset today, but, you know, baseline, they're actually really nice. And I'm like, why am I saying baseline?
But if he can get better in a week, then put him on a machine.
That's not what he wanted.
Do either of you have durable power of attorney for healthcare?
Ooh, we're discussing it?
Okay. Well, this is a decision that does not need to be made right now. Why don't you think about it? Talk about it. If things get worse, sometimes allowing for a comfortable natural death can be the most humane path.
She did not like that answer. You saw that? I love her.
How's the VA?
Yeah, it was good, challenging. I learned a ton. I just think maybe it should be mandatory that all doctors spend time there, like on a regular basis, because of all they've sacrificed for us.
That's a nice thought. How'd you choose the Pitt?
Oh, I have a sister with special needs, and she got into this really great facility here in Pittsburgh. And PTMC has such a great reputation. I thought, it'd be a good.
Can I present my headache too?
Yeah. What do you got?
Ew! Bro, that was so rude of you. She's so endearing. And look at her, she's like not even taking it to heart. Well, maybe she will in 5 seconds. I'm noticing the fidgeting in her hands. I don't want her to be the odd one out on the team because as the perky, bright-eyed person who is reliable, you tend to be at a disadvantage when you're not grumpy like everyone else in healthcare. People assume that you don't care as much or that you're taking it lightly. A lot of people just learn to train themselves to be as miserable as everyone else around them. I hope that doesn't happen to her.
Her pain went from 11 to 0 after 2 cc's of Iammarcaine.
Wait. You did a trigger point injection before presenting the case?
Yeah.
Interns always present first.
I spent a month at the pain clinic.
it's not
I'm
okay.
very comfortable.
It's definitely not okay.
Yeah, that would never happen. No intern would have the guts to do something like that. I mean, maybe these are based on stories, but no one I've ever trained with would have the guts to do something without asking their senior, especially because their senior is right there.
What's up?
Good vitals, A&O. Let's have a look.
Ah!
Floating face.
Oh my gosh! How did they do that? How did they do that? I'm as stunned as Melissa King. Wear your helmets.
Must have been difficult as a young mother.
It had its moments, but my life has been full of challenges. Med school was not one of the hardest by far.
Really? Wow.
It was one of the most rewarding.
That's
though.
saying something.
Other than having my son.
Yes, ERs are chaotic, but it's more volume than it is just utter tragedies happening all the time. Send patients and divert them to other hospitals depending on how critical. And also it seems like he's the only attending there for all those patients which you would have other attendings obviously nearby.
Yolanda, play nice.
Stats are up with the eye gel.
You ready?
Hello.
Oh, hello.
You've done this? Yes, in the cadaver lab.
Let's hope that's not where this poor soul ends up. We'll do an open technique.
We've discussed it before. This is Hollywood. You have to see one, do one, teach one. I see one, I do one, I teach one, forgot it, yeah. As the attending, so when I observe my students and residents, responsibility always comes back to the attending. She's been at the VA, so again, it just doesn't match up story-wise for him to let her. He would have been like, oh, well, okay, I don't know if that counts, let me intervene, because you also have to care about the patient, right? But I guess they're trying to cover it because surgery's right there on standby. It's fudgy.
Okay, now we're going to make a horizontal incision across the cricothyroid membrane.
4-0 Shiley next. Get ready to bag the Craig.
Yeah, good.
This is amazing. Yeah, wow. And bag.
Oh, excuse me. No worries. In college, he has a part-time job. He even chose to live at home so he can focus on school.
Dr. Robbie, from the urine.
With that,
It's a drug test, and it is positive for fentanyl.
Oh my gosh, he OD'd.
Can he hear us?
You know, we're never really sure, so you should just assume that he can. And we'll come find you as soon as we know more, okay?
He's so perfect. He's like Dr. Superman. And I want him to work everywhere, but also for the character development, I want him to have a flaw. I just feel like the pressure is cooking, and I want him to just go, everybody, you're crazy!
What's BiPAP?
It is a pressurized air mask that can improve his oxygen.
I feel like I don't need to explain anything because the show is doing a phenomenal job. I really appreciate that from the script because it's also doing a lot of public health education for families who will interface with the hospital and healthcare system in the form of an ER most likely, and so they could be like, oh, I heard the word BiPAP before, oxygen, pneumonia, sepsis, so I really commend this show for doing that.
Well, we know he expressed his wishes in writing. Do not intubate.
We're thinking try it for a week.
That would be a very painful week. I need to be restrained because he'd be in an unfamiliar place with a very uncomfortable tube down his throat. Elderly patients can often develop psychosis.
But he might get better.
What would you do?
I really can't answer that for you. This is your father.
That's a great answer to say, especially from a medical training perspective. I have seen a lot of healthcare professionals, you can weigh in on this too because we are part of this collective experience. Do weigh in because families do want that. So a lot of times in pediatrics, when it comes down to the care for a child, and then they ask you, like, what would you do? And you say, like, well, my recommendation of what I would do for my family is XYZ, but the decision is ultimately yours. Just so you let them know, like, which way you're leaning. And I think that it is the right thing for him to not share his opinion or recommendation. I'm also finding it interesting because the patient himself, the elderly man, had expressed his wishes. So what's the purpose of discussing with the family right now? Because I don't know if they can supersede it because it's written and documented. So it would have to be like escalated to a hospital ethics board if there were some conflict between what family wanted and what the patient wanted. But I'm not really sure where this story is going.
That would make this a hate crime.
Yes, ma'am.
Damn.
Doctor, sorry. I'm sorry.
No harm, no foul.
Will you let me know if she says anything else?
Will do.
Oh, we gonna get romance up in the ER in the pits. We gonna get flirty at hour 2, 8 a.m. What? Breakfast? Bringers from Dunkin'. My guy. Oh, not because he's a police officer in the donuts. I just meant coffee. Oh, this show is tackling a lot. Ooh, hey. Let's just say it's going to be a very busy shift.
I'll let you know if she says anything else that could be important to your investigation.
Underhill it out. You know?
Thank you. No, for the record.
Nope.
She's good. I'll give her that. She's really good. Oh, who's this actress? Who is this actress? She's masterful. I appreciate her entirely. She's one of my faves. From the moment she was on screen, this woman carried herself with such backstory, and I want an entire season on her. Yeah. She's invested. She is a true actor, and I applaud her. Her and Mel are my favorites, and I would like to be their colleagues. I mean, Robbie too, but I just want him to have a flaw. Give me something. Stop smirking at everyone.
Is it me or was it opposite?
No.
Inventory supervisor! Oh, she's good. She's good. You can tell she's a senior resident on her way out and knows the ins and outs of everything she needs to say on record so no one can fault her and no one can come for her. She's a senior resident by every regard.
Just walk away. Best possible scenario, just keep on walking.
Girl, what kind of screen is this? What you working on? U-World? What is this? Ooh. What does that say? What kind of EMR is this? Microsoft Word? What are you using? Paint? What is this horror? Nah, I don't know who was in charge of the EMR screen. Y'all need to get a new guy. What the heck is this electronic health record? For everything else the show is going for it, that EMR needs an overhaul. She agrees.
They're always there when you need them. You wouldn't want to be a part of that, you know?
No way is she on parole. As a doctor? That's what's beeping, right? It's not like a mommy monitor. At some point we need to ask ourselves, what is too much? It's not too much yet. If they're gonna open up getting in trouble with the law and the legal system, for whatever reason, I don't know if we can cover all that in 15 episodes and do it justice. I would be really impressed if we can. So we'll see. I'm just even more invested. No, you and me same.
Sorry.
You're doing great. Take your time. You okay?
I get frustrated when I can't do things, or at least it looks like it.
Yeah, you and me both.
Thanks, but my frustration manifests itself emotionally, and then I get upset, and then it looks like I can't handle things, and it looks like I can't handle things, and it looks like I can't handle things, and you know, then I can't cry in front of the patient because no one wants to see their doctor cry. That's just a big red flag.
You just did a perfect Craig. You're doing great.
Aww. Wow, to have someone who's that self-aware, you know, no one wants to see their doctor cry. Well, I don't actually know if that's true. I think people like to feel that human quotient. I think medical school tells you that I mean, you can answer, right? Like, do you feel okay if you see your doctor cry with you, or do you not like that? That's why we have humans who take care of us and not robots. And I think medical school trains you to be devoid of yourself, so you become a shell. And I think that's actually opposite of what patients need. And because that's what people have to do to get into medicine, you are the top of the top of the top of the top of the top. And then you get to medical school where everyone else is the top of the top of the top of the top of the top. And then just based on math, half of you have to be the top of the class and half of you have to be the bottom of the class. And so it creates for a really intense mental health crisis in medical school where there's rampant anxiety, substance use, depression, because you're just forced to, again, dehumanize yourself to become the robot that they want, and you have all this pressure on you, let alone, like, Denis, I think his name is the one whose family had invested in him, like your family sacrificing and then your own financial sacrifices. It's a recipe for not just burnout, but like burnout from both ends of the candle. And yet the one thing that she's struggling to do, it's gonna eat at her. And that's what happens when you live in a culture that points out your flaws. Culture of pimping is you keep asking your trainee questions until they get something wrong just to point out their flaws. And that's unhealthy. Oh!
1, 2, 3. Ooh. Did you take anything?
Smell the alcohol from here.
This guy's wearing the spring, summer, and fall collection.
Oh, there's so many in New York City and they just come out on garbage night, but because the city is so big, every night is garbage night. Any dark corner, you'll just see little figure. We did not need that. He's cute though, I'll give him that. Mr. Ratatouille.
So my son could end up with learning disabilities, psychiatric problems, or even autism because
There's no evidence to suggest any of that.
Hello, I'm Kiara Alfaro. I'm the department social worker.
Kiara will help you navigate the next steps.
What steps?
Well, a case like this
CPS.
requires mandatory reporting to child services and sometimes law enforcement.
No.
Why do you have to involve the police?
It's a controlled substance.
You're not taking my kid away.
They were pot gummies.
In fact, we're leaving.
Well, you can't take your son. He can stop breathing. You can
I'll observe him at home.
If you can't cooperate, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
Amanda, please, he needs to stay here.
Your son can't leave the hospital, but I can't have you removed.
Don't you dare touch me. Get out of here.
Okay, now!
This was made by people who don't work in pediatrics. Pediatrics. We would never do it this way. I have had this conversation numerous times. You just say, listen, I hear you. This is just a hospital policy. It's way above our heads, but we got him a bed upstairs. You'll be able to stay with him. He'll be comfortable. You'll get meals, and this will all be sorted out by our team. We will figure this out, and we'll let you know what the next steps. But let's get you up to a comfortable room. That's it. What? Like, you don't come in like and create an antagonistic force. This makes me realize that there needs to be a pediatrician in every ER. And that's why this is what makes a pediatric ER different from an ER, because an ER is dealing with so many things that when someone like this comes in, I'm not saying that they're kind of mismanaging, but you have to triage, and a child who's deemed stable and is going to get admitted is a different kind of case than someone who's at death's door, right? So you need to focus here, and this one's kind of just like get social work involved. So I want to hear what he's about to say from Dr. Superman. The parents' reaction is believable, and the ER mismanaged this one.
Your son is not leaving, but you can be escorted out and even arrested if you refuse to cooperate. Nobody wants that.
No one would.
You tell us. What do you want to do?
This is like painful, actually. And I think this is the pain that a lot of people feel when they watch other medical shows. But I really need to focus on this and help you understand that maybe this has happened to people out there, and I don't want to excuse that kind of behavior, but in my training and the way that the teams that I've worked with have handled these kinds of discussions is you always make sure that, like I just mentioned before, that you are coming from the parent's perspective, because this is scary and this is stressful. Just like the social worker did. She came and she said, I understand. Like, you sit down, you talk gently, and the ER, because it's chaos, can be a bit abrasive, and that conversation he had is truthful. They could be escorted out, but you don't want to get to that point because it sounds threatening. And then what happens is, let's say the kid is fine, Child Protective Services does clear them, they're going to leave that hospital and have such distrust against the hospital. And that's not what we're trying to create. You're trying to create a healthy interaction, say, this is something that's just policy, but we're going to work through this together. That's it. In fact, when Child Protective Services is involved, they often try not to take the kid out of the home because that's the most traumatic thing. That's the last resort and will be done if the kid needs it for the kid's safety, but we don't resort to that. This is painful. This is painful. Studies have shown, this was cool, that when a doctor sits down with a patient, the patient feels like they're with them, that the doctor is with them, twice as long than the doctor actually is. So there's so many strategies that we use as pediatricians to navigate difficult conversations that we have every single day. So this, again, is more evidence this was made by people who do not know pediatrics in the slightest. And there are pediatric ERs, and we handle this all the time.
Do you think he would hurt anyone?
No. But I'm sure a lot of parents felt that way before their children did unspeakable things.
Does he have any history of violence? Has he ever been in any trouble?
No, never. He's very quiet.
This is making me think about the new Netflix show, Adolescence. I have no idea what it's about, but I have heard a lot about it, and I thought maybe that would be a great thing to also watch and react to from a pediatrician perspective. But you all can tell me, because I'm sure someone out there has seen it.
Only the emergency department admits
The emergency
rats.
department would never admit rats unless they have the right insurance.
Did you catch me?
Drug-seeking woman kicked off a city bus for disrupting and disturbing passengers. She's been screaming for narcotics nonstop. We found an
Why can't you call it? He's been uncooperative and combative since we picked him up.
The homework working. Please, I have sickle.
She has sickle cell! Oh my gosh, she needs pain meds! I want to go here. This is such an important conversation. There are so many patients who struggle with sickle cell, and they're not drug seeking, but they need really intense medications because they've lived with chronic pain their whole lives. And what sickle cell does is, let me show you. Actually, let's see if they explain it. But actually, let me explain it first because I want to do some teaching. So it's a form of anemia. It's called sickle cell anemia, and it's a genetic blood disorder where instead of you having hemoglobin A, which gives you a certain round disc-like red blood cell, you can get hemoglobin S, which gives you a round one, but then when it's under stress, it can sickle like the moon or like a saber, And what that does is that sickle could then get stuck at these bifurcations. It will cause the blood to back up behind it. So everything distal to it, which just means deeper into the body, back here won't be getting any more blood, or if it does, it'll be getting oxygen deficient blood. And so oxygen is what we all need to be able to move our bodies, and our tissues need to continue working. If you can't get oxygen to certain parts of your body, then you start to have pain crises because that area is sort of dying. It's not getting the blood flow that it needs. To get them a lot of fluid, sometimes blood transfusions to help flush that obstruction. And so you have to ask the person with sickle cell, like, what typically helps you? How often do you get your crises? Where do you have your crises? And what has helped you, what has triggered your crises in the past. And if they have a fever, you're concerned about like acute chest syndrome. And the fact that they're holding her down right now they think that she's being drug seeking, but she's just in a vaso-occlusive crisis. Vaso, vein, or blood vessel occlusive, obstructed crisis, because she's in a sickle cell crisis right now. This is wild.
Okay, stop. Everybody stop.
Stop! Joyce, is this your sickle cell pain?
Yes!
10 milligrams of IV morphine.
Now that you mention it, there was a smell.
Probably a pirate. Tell him to pick up some vitamin C next time he docks at the dollar store.
I can't tell if you're joking.
She's so charming, and she sells every scene that she's in.
IV dilated at 4 an hour. You can press this button if you need a little extra.
That only works once an hour, though, so don't go crazy.
Could I confer with you?
Yeah.
I wish that she carried herself in a bit more collegial fashion. When she said, "Can I confer with you?" it just seems like very much like she's going to put him in his place rather than using this as a teaching moment. But we'll see.
How do you know she's not drug
You
seeking?
can't fake a hemoglobin of 6. Do you know what sickle cell crisis does to the body?
Yeah.
Don't worry, you'll get good at spotting the fakers, and half the time all those people need is someone to really listen to them and hear their story.
I don't know, y'all. The script is losing me a little bit. I can see some people say that this is sugarcoating a little bit, to say that all people just needed someone to hear their story. There are people who are addicted to things and need addiction specialists, and to call them fakers, it's just, the script is doing both. It's like living in the world of ER where people will call someone a faker, but then also saying, but everyone's wonderful and welcomed, and it's living in two realities, but I wouldn't have expected her to call them a faker.
You okay?
Yeah, for sure. I just hate seeing families torn apart.
Oh, they'll be fine.
How can you be sure?
They're white. Probably get off with a slap on the wrist. If they weren't, she'd probably lose her child and he'd end up going to jail. But sorry, I did a fellowship in cynicism. You sure you okay?
100%. I'm just gonna get some air. What happens if there are multiple traumas needing to work?
That's my question!
Mr. Milton?
Let me share with you a story about pediatric training, about the access to resources. So when I was training, there was no overnight attending to cover the regular pediatric floor as well as the ICU. And when I was getting my training for the ICU, they said, well, you know, if there's an emergency that happens overnight and there's no attending in-house, you just call the emergency room attending who's in the ED downstairs. And I said, okay, well, just tickle me pink. Let's say, hypothetically, I know it's bizarre, it won't happen for sure, but just so we all know, what happens if when we call that emergency room attending, they're, I know, having an emergency and can't come up to take care of our emergency because we're also having one in the ICU? What do we do then? And then the person paused the recording that was teaching us how to run the ICU and just looked at me and said, then you pray. And she turned it back on. And I was like, this is a recipe for disaster. So it's kind of wild what happens in hospital settings to save money, and it really jars you. And, you know, people call burnout moral injury because as a doctor, you're trying to do what's best for your patients. But when you're in residency, you learn how not a lot of people agree with that sentiment.
Sorry, we had to move you into the hall. I know it gets pretty chaotic and noisy out here.
Heart attack.
Mr.
I told you.
Hey, Bennett, wake up for me. Help!
When did you check on him last?
I don't know, around half an hour ago most. I was waiting on labs.
What's going on?
It's my gallstone guy. You saw his EKG's going.
No downtime. He was sleeping in the hall.
Crash car, let's go!
Dude, better CPR. Lock those elbows.
I got it.
Lock those elbows, my guy. This, you gotta.
Slow tempo.
Should I intubate?
No, drop it down one minute. We don't want to hold compressions.
Yeah, the reason why he said slow tempo is chest and compressions are really important, but the purpose of them. Let's go full screen so that y'all could see. All right, here we go. Here's the teaching moment. So when you go full screen, when you go full extension with your arms, you are creating a sort of rigid posture for yourself so that you're always able to give maximum force. So you're not doing this. You're not supposed to be like bouncing. You're supposed to lock your elbows and use your body's weight. It's two motions. You compress in and recoil, but you don't actually take your hand off. So compress, recoil, compress, recoil. And the recoil is really important because there are two phases to the heart pumping. It squeezes and relaxes. And when it relaxes, that's when it allows the blood to fill in. And then it squeezes it back out and fill in and squeeze. And so if you're just compressing, the heart is just pumping and there's nothing inside the chambers. You're going to go at the speed of 120 beats per minute, which is staying alive, huh, 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 huh.
Hey, I'm just trying to break the ice. I'm not trying to annoy you. And yet, you're still calling me Crash when I asked you not to. Really? You're still on that? Still on that. Yeah, okay. Sorry. I had no idea Genius was
I was like, what's the purpose of this scene? It's them! Oh, I just got all hot and sweaty. That was so funny. The editor on that really knows his or her comedic timing. Okay, they would totally swap out with someone else because his chest compressions suck. He's turning into Hollywood. I would swap that kid out the second he started. I'd be like, girl, boom! Dr. Collins was talking in the previous scene when she said, am I running this or are you? When you're at the foot of the bed, you can observe everyone, and your job is not just to think, it's to also instruct people how to be better and do what's best for the patient. So his job is to tell him to be better at chest compressions. Right now, he sucks. He's horrible. So that is like some of the worst chest compressions I've seen in my life. And they should get him a stool or something so he has some weight to have his shoulders over the patient's chest. Right now, he's on the side and just kind of like... So this scene is not believable.
We're not giving up on him.
You're absolutely certain you want to put your father through this after everything I've told you? I may have to honor his advance directive.
Then why give them the option? Like, I don't understand what the script is trying to accomplish here. What is the purpose of this? Because he already expressed his desires, so that's what needs to be upheld. What was the point of having them think and mull over if he's gonna just have to honor the advance directive, which is in writing? This is a little spice of medicine, because if they had just done what he agreed with, he would have been just like, I think that's great. But now that they're saying we want something that's counter what he actually recommends, even though he said, I'm not gonna give you my opinion, his implicit bias is that the guy shouldn't be intubated, and so he's like, I might have to just follow it. And some people in the psych community have remarked about how doctors will say that someone doesn't have capacity to make their own decisions, and that's correlated to whether or not they agree with what the doctor's recommendations are, which is a really spicy concept where if someone comes into the ER and we recommend something and then they follow it, it's like no one's going to question anything. But if we recommend something and they say, no, I don't agree with it, some people call psych to come evaluate that person because that person might not have the capacity to make their own decisions, which is a great thing to make sure that we are checking for, but it's the humanness of healthcare.
Those people need some hope.
False hope.
Hope is hope.
Is it? What are we praying for miracles today?
Ooh, good
They need
line!
time to process before they can accept what's happening.
You ever consider taking that advice? Physician, heal thyself.
Notice how I said this in my episode 1 reaction, but I actually edited it out. Notice how whenever, and it's great acting from Noah Weil, or this doctor, what's his name? From Dr. Robbie, that whenever he gets uncomfortable, arms go straight into the pockets and shoulders come up. And he's done it several times. In the last episode, episode 1, if you go back and rewatch, when the social worker comes by and says, you know, you can come and talk to me, he puts his hand in his pocket and he's like, I know. So I don't know if he's doing it on purpose. I mean, he's an excellent actor, so I'm sure it's part of his training. so well done from the script to have him say what he's gonna say outside the door so we hear it, and then when he goes in, you only hear the family's response. That is cinematic. Wow, and everyone else is taking stock of what they should be grateful for and their blessings. My God. See, even though he didn't have an opinion, he's begrudgingly doing this, which is an opinion.
Let's push another amp. This one could do it.
What? That one didn't have as much of a zinger. And again, this is what I had anticipated when I started this out. This is what I was anticipating, that the pilot is really tight and they sort of work through it and make sure that it's the most perfect thing ever. And then they breathe a little bit and they're like, okay, now we have 14 more episodes to explain ourselves. And while this episode was great and it's still an excellent show, it did stumble a little bit in the script writing like we had talked about, and I don't think that the ending is as sharp as the last one. Not that every ending needs to be. Then end with Dr. Robbie preparing to intubate. That contemplative state that he was in was similar to the contemplative state at the end of episode 1. It's a stronger resequencing to have him be the end. Anyway, what did you think? This was really intense. I am excited to check out episode 3, again, if we get 500 likes, so thank you so much for watching. And should we check out Adolescence? Should we also check out Lilo and Stitch, which is coming out soon, because people have said that Lilo has maybe some neurodivergence exemplified in her, and then also some other incredible things that I already have on the channel, which I will link here and here. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe so we can pass our next goal, which is 17,777 subscribers, because that is my favorite number, or 7 is my favorite number. And I'll see you next time. Ciao!